So basically, I've been getting materials for this paradigm mashup, particularly the Dalek eye stalk, the paradigm eye stalk, which is a real sort of tricky thing to build without the right sort of shapes, because it's basically a cone and a dome. So I found in Asda's when I went shopping this morning a cone-shaped bowl and a regular dome-shaped bowl, and they were a pound each, and just grabbing a nearby ruler from the stationery department and just doing a quick measurement of them, I found that they are within the parameters of doability, and I can cut them down a bit and get them to the right shape, and basically use these two items to put them together roughly, something like that, and essentially have the paradigm eyeball pretty much almost ready to go. I mean, I'm going to have to shorten them a little bit and just get them to fit together a bit better, but essentially they are pretty close to the sizes on the specs, more or less, give or take. So, like I say, the whole thing costs like £2. So, that's a big chunk of work already done, and all I need to do is just dress it with the surface details, like these weird ridgy things that go all the way around, and the bizarre eyeball thing and whatever. But yeah, all the work is pretty much done. So I'm pretty chuffed I managed to pick up these items in Asda's. So yeah, so I'm going to start dressing this at some point, and I've got this coupling as well, this plastic coupling thing, which will probably go on there, and then I can basically, when I have the rest of it put together, I can put a tube through it like that, and then you've got the whole thing basically connected together with couplings and things and stuff like that. So yeah, quite chuffed with that. So gonna crack on with that at some point later on, um, and get this paradigm eyeball completed. So this afternoon I decided to make a rudimentary paradigm eye stalk, and so it's basically made of an aluminium tube, a Christmas bauble, um, some sort of plumbing fitting, um, a couple of bowls as well. The hardest part was trying to chop up the bowls actually to get them dimensionally correct. They were roughly what I wanted anyway. Got those in Asda's. I think they were like £1 each or something. They were very cheap. But it's just a question of cutting them down to the right size. So with the flowery one, that was probably the hardest because I had to chop it down and oops, I had to take that much off the flowery bowl, and it's very strong. I'm not even sure what kind of plastic it is. It's a very tough plastic anyway. And whereas the other one, which is one of these, and all I had to do with that was chop off about that much, I guess. But that was a lot easier to cut off because it was a thinner styrene type plastic or whatever. And but I had to cut these slots basically because it wouldn't really fit to the flowery bowl properly, and the only way to do it really was to make these cuts, which doesn't really matter anyway because it's going to be covered in these fins. You see the fins which stick out, so that kind of it all kind of came together nicely, and I think it will be a pretty good dimensionally correct paradigm eyeball, more or less, considering the budget I'm on, and is as close as I can get it. So yeah, that's the paradigm eye stalk. So just need to clean it all up, glue it together, stick the fins on, and drill a hole in the front and stick the eyepiece, which will be a light or something, a touch light maybe, I don't know yet. But it's all pretty nicely kind of come together, and the plumbing fitting actually is functional, so it actually holds on the tube to the eyeball, so it just unscrews and the whole thing screws together. So it's all quite functional, and yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. And yeah, I'll do a bit more work on that another time. Oops. So today I'm going to be making the paradigm eyeball for this client out of rudimentary everyday objects, and I've already started working on it already. So it's mainly breakfast bowls. So like this is one breakfast bowl. I think it was like £1 or something, a couple of quid. And that's another one. The idea is that they go together and form that kind of shape. I've had to chop one of these down into a kind of petal effect because it wasn't quite fitting this bowl. So that way I can adjust with the petal effect with the cuts. I can adjust the size and just tape it together, and then just put filler or fiberglass in the gaps on the inside and secure it all together, and then it will be a nicely strong structure. But before I do any of that, I have to make sure that the internal electrics is going to work, because this is going to be a kind of sealed unit, so there won't be much play with working on electronics. So got a torch here. Basically, that's kind of going to go in the end of that, essentially. Well, I'm going to take the top off, and that'll be a fitting that'll fix in there, and that part will be removable with a bit of luck. And this baked bean can is going to serve as the front, so that's going to kind of go inside the eyeball like that, with a hole drilled out here and a lens put in there, and something to make it blue as well, so maybe to give the lighter blue kind of effect. I might use a lid off something like that, or just to play around with different lighting effects. But that's essentially it. So a couple of breakfast bowls and a baked bean can and a cheap torch, and that is essentially the entire mechanism for the paradigm eyeball. So and this fitting as well, which fixes it to this hole. So that's essentially the whole shebang there. So now I've got to wrestle it all together and make it into the paradigm eyeball, hopefully. Yeah, I'm just going to wait for things to go off, such as the resin. I've put loads of resin inside the main eyeball module, and sure, it's taking its sweet time to set, but it is getting there. And then once that's done, I've got to take the whole thing apart. I'll basically take this top off, and then this will go inside, and that'll be the iris part kind of thing. And it's just not a very easy design, because I mean, ideally what you want is this to come apart so that you can service it and stuff, but it has these annoying fins that go on the sides, which means that it's kind of a bit impractical to try and dismantle it to get to any light bulbs. So really what you want to do is just make that a aesthetic and sort out the light bulb inside the actual pole, so to stick your light, which is basically what I've done. So I've got an old torchlight I found out, and somebody chucked out an old torch, so I decided to salvage the LEDs, and basically that's the part that's going to go inside there. So it's going to fit inside this coupling, and basically screw on there, and then it's going to light up the front, basically. So that's the plan. and that's the most simplest thing I can do. Otherwise, you know, there's a lot of flapping about trying to dismantle this to get to a light bulb or whatever. It's just a very impractical design anyway, regardless of me trying to do it, or if you're trying to build your own paradigm eyeball. I mean, they're just much more complicated than the old classic 60s ones, where you could actually take the light bulb out the front and just screw it in with a few screws. So this one you can't really do that because, like I say, it's got these fins that kind of clasp around it, and it's a bit annoying, and you can't really unscrew anything or get to anything. So like I say, the only thing I can really do is just have the light bulb and the pole itself, so that just shoves through the eyeball, and then it's just a lot less hassle, and I can just screw it all together that way. And you know, that seems to be the most practical thing. So I'm just going to wait for the fiberglass, which I put inside there, to go off. I put fiberglass inside there to secure these edges, because I've got all these feathered, these petal-shaped edges, wherever, to open out the bowl to get it to fit this other bowl. So I've got to put fiberglass in it just to kind of get that to stay in place, because in a minute when it's set, I have to take off this section yet again just to put this inside it, and then glue the whole lot together again. So it's a real pain, but it's the only way I can kind of get this eyeball to kind of work. So anyway, just going to let it all go off and have some lunch. It's all stuck together now, and it's quite heavy as well, so it almost feels like there's quite a lot of weight in there, so because of the glue and the resin. And I've put a little lens in there, basically, and it's just a static object, really. It doesn't come apart anymore. Basically, the light will shove into it like that. The light will be on the end of this, and it will just basically stick in there and illuminate it that way. So I'm going to do that next. Yeah, so I'm going to take the tape off that and see how that looks. Okay, so I've essentially got the eye stalk light bulb situation sorted out. So that's basically just a torch that's been cannibalized, and the LED just taken out, and essentially just put on the end of this pole, which is the eye stalk, and that's it. And then that basically just screws into there, like so, more or less. And I've got a plumbing coupling on it, which has a rubber seal, which essentially holds the pole on. The eye stalk itself holds the eye stalk to the eyeball with pressure, basically, and it just makes it harder for it to come off. That's kind of on there like that, and then a bit jiggery pokery, there's light, so it's quite effective. Just runs off a couple of AA batteries, which I tape together. I'll get a proper battery. Getting very close to finishing the paradigm eyeball. I think it's taken me, I think it's like my third day working on it. Like, I generally just put in a few hours every other day, and so it's taken me a few afternoons to get to this point. And basically what I've done is made a template out of cardboard, and then just made these fins. So I had to go online and look at various pictures. I think I found an original plan drawing or something, and I just kind of used that, plus the contour shapes from Project Dalek's new paradigm Dalek plans. But none of them actually show you this shape, so it was a little bit of, they give you a kind of suggestion of the outline, but they don't actually give you this actual fin template. So at least I haven't been able to find one anyway. So yeah, so that was a bit annoying. So it took me a while to find something and then adapt this and create these fins of a cardboard template. But yeah, it's kind of coming together. They basically just stick on with. I guess I'm just going to stick them on with glue, and just do that. But it's not my choice Dalek eyeball because it's a very impractical model, or whatever you want to call it. It's a very impractical design because you can't actually get inside the ball. It's just not, unless you saw the whole thing in half, of course, and you have a few screws or whatever. But I like things to unscrew and pull apart quickly, so if anything goes wrong, you can just quickly fix it. Whereas this particular design, I had to hash it together very quickly, so I didn't have much time to think about the best way to take it apart or anything like that. So it's literally a kind of enclosed design. Otherwise I'd be spending forever trying to get it to come together. So I've really kind of hashed it together. So everything's kind of sealed in. So if anything does go wrong, it's going to be a bit of a kind of pain to try and get to anything inside it. So it's kind of a solid object. And it will be even more of a pain once these fins are stuck on, because I've got to glue them on. And the other thing is, like, I think I better paint them first, paint them black. I've also got to put glue gun to fill in the holes, like I've done with this one. So if I just focus on that. So I put glue gun in there to kind of fill the holes, because otherwise you've got the corrugated slots. So just chucked loads of glue gun along the edges, and when I paint it black it should look more like a solid piece. But yeah, I'm going to have to paint all of them individually black, and then I've got to actually paint the whole ball itself black with some strips of masking tape to cover these white lines, because I need those unpainted, because basically, I'm going to glue these fins onto the white lines, so I need them kind of not covered in paint, otherwise the glue won't stick properly. So it's a bit of a mission to do all that. Plus, I don't want to get any more paint on the lens on the front as well, so I've got to cover that with tape, so it's a lot of flapping around, but it'll look like a nice piece. And then I'll just, when it's all kind of together, I'll spray some more black around it, and yeah, just get the thing to come together. So, and but yeah, it's a heavy object, not very practical, and I've already dropped it once and had to fix a crack in it, and which is a bit annoying. But yeah, it is looking the biz. I just need to get these pesky fins sorted out and the whole thing painted, and then I can die, I guess. Okay, so it's still kind of very slow process, but basically I've just spent the last, I don't know, 300 years just putting glue gun along the edges of all these fins, just to give it a solid shape, because otherwise it has this kind of corrugated effect, which is not the effect I was looking for. So I wanted to sort of try to fill it in. So really just running the glue gun like all the way around these edges of these Corex fins, just to give them some solidity, I suppose, solid shape. And when I spray it black, it'll kind of look like it's supposed to be a, I think that the original ones are made out of Perspex or something. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, it must have been a real kind of ball ache cutting these out out of Perspex, and it's not much fun making them out of Corex either. But it's just cheaper, and you you get the same kind of desired effect. So they're all kind of filled now, and yeah, looking the biz, and I'm just gonna take the dog for a walk, and then later on I'll start spray painting all these individual components, and then I'll have to glue them together and then do a final respray, and hopefully that'll be it for the Paradigm eyeball. Okay, so finished at last. So there it is. There's the Paradigm eyeball, all painted up and stuck together, and hopefully the glue gun will be enough to hold these fins on. So in theory it should work anyway. So it's still quite a bodge, but from a distance it'll look okay, it'll pass. Typically if there's going to be any filming done, it'll be okay in the camera, I guess. But yeah, basically it looks quite cool. And even the baked bean can, which is actually flat, it's got a flat bottom, but those concentric rings kind of gives it this illusion of it being kind of concave on the inside there, so which is quite cool. And yeah, looking good. So I'm quite happy with that. And to save time with those pesky rings that go around the eye stalk, I decided just to get a foot pump and paint it black and silver and spray some blue over the top of it. And it's very thin plastic, but I'm hoping that the paint will stick to it, so in theory that should be okay. But that's just for the sake of time, otherwise I'm going to be spending forever trying to get that aspect perfect as well. And I've got a lot to do, got a lot of work to do on this Dalek. So yeah, it's all coming together. I'm also going to opt for a plastic eye stalk tube, mainly to keep it lighter, because the aluminium one is going to be quite heavy once you've got the eyeball on there. This eyeballs were very heavy anyway, so that was probably half a kilo of weight, maybe slightly less of half a kilo, I don't know. But it's quite heavy, and the dome itself is very heavy, and yeah, it's all gonna start to build up in weight, and so a plastic tube should be sufficient to, in that respect. So I'm just trying to cut some corners here and there. So yeah, I'm just going to assemble all this together and see how it goes. Okay, there it is. One Paradigm eye stalk, more or less. And I've rigged it up to a battery, so it glows as well. So, and that's it, really. And like I said, I went for the plastic tube and just painted it silver. And it's just like aluminium, and it's short enough and strong enough to take the weight, I think, as far as I can see. So it should be fine, as long as the owner doesn't smash it around a door frame or whatever. I'm sure it'll be fine. But anyway, that's essentially it. Looking pretty awesome. So yeah, just gonna stick it in the dome and see how it looks. Okay, there it is. So it's been installed into the dome and temporarily wired up. It's all a bit spinny. I might need to fix that, and the light's gone down. Anyway, that's back on again. Jolly good. Okay, so yeah, there's a few kind of things I need to address, but I don't really need that. I don't want that to rotate, because that could be it could rip the wires out or something, so better sort that out at some other point. But anyway, the main thing is that it works more or less. It's gonna, anyway, it's only a temporary rig, doesn't matter. Anyway, it's all in place now, looking good, and yeah, I will endeavor to fix all the problems, like the wiring issues. It's very temperamental. I've only got it taped together anyway, so it's not properly wired up yet. I need to get a proper on-off switch compartment thing to wire it up to, and stuff. So anyway, it's looking good. Job's a good one.